What's the most hurtful thing you've overheard about yourself by accident? Part 2. Welcome back, folks. We've all had our fair share of hurtful memories. Imagine listening to people talk behind your back. Awful, isn't it? Today, we'll look at some Reddit stories on the most hurtful things overheard by accident. Tighten up! When I was in the 7th grade, I lived in a shitty podunk town in East Texas. I was weird and an ugly duckling. In order to fit in, I decided to become a cheerleader since all of them were popular and well-liked at my school. I made the team and considered all of them friends, even though they were mean to literally everyone who they didn't consider cool. One day, during a practice, the basis of my stunt, the people who hold you up, dropped me and I fell flat on my ass, which bruised my tailbone really badly. At our first game, we were on the sidelines, and during a break, I overheard our team captain laughing about how funny it was when her and the other base dropped me on purpose, and that they had hoped I had been hurt enough to not be able to participate in the game. As a 13-year-old, it destroyed me, but in order to still seem like I was liked at school, I didn't tell anyone about it. Kids are not always that innocent, are they? This next one is extremely saddening. My dad's friend telling my dad that I, female 16 then, was not that good looking. Asked him if he had saved up money to cover for that in the dowry, which is money exchanged by parents to the groom at the time of the marriage. Since that day, no one could convince me otherwise. Imagine losing confidence because of another person. What more damage can you do? Even family members can be toxic. The next 5 shows how. My mother telling a relative that I was useless, selfish, arrogant, ornery, and stupid for giving up on my education. I was 16. I had just transferred from a private college prep school 7 miles away so I could go to public school 1 mile away. For both that I walked and took public buses. I was my mom's caregiver, housekeeper, bill payer, shopper, gardener, handyman, security service, and courier service 24/7. I had no social life. And I worked part-time. I had been doing this alone for 3 years. Though I was the youngest of 7 siblings, I was floored. I felt like I had been sucker punched. I stood there in my apron and rubber gloves, holding a laundry basket, and just bawled my eyes out. It wasn't as much the content which was bad, but it was the context. She was lying, and doing it to ensure that I looked bad enough to everyone if I reached out for help. None of it would be forthcoming. Learned a hard life lesson that day. Nobody deserves to be treated this way. Family is not always loving, right? I was sick, septic, dying in the ER at the local hospital. I had tubes coming in and out of me. I had IV antibiotics, and I didn't know if I was going to make it through the night. My family was at my house, and my niece, who was with me, called the house and put them on speaker. I heard my mother telling them about how she didn't care about me, never had, and she was only there to make sure my nephew was okay. That I got dirty diseases from being gay and sleeping with everyone in town. No, it wasn't an STD. No, I didn't get it from sleeping around, and I haven't bothered with her since. A dying person listening to this? Gosh. Home is one place you're supposed to feel safe. I guess that's not everyone's case. I went to school with a black eye and a busted nose for my dear old dad. Child Services was called to do a home check. My dad and mom told the worker I'd done it to myself and I was suicidal, and then I had written down in my diary that I wanted to kill my little brother. I didn't even have a diary, and of all the people I was close to, my little brother was number 1. It got me a blacker eye and an involuntary stay in a locked ward. I bailed ASAP. Domestic violence needs to be addressed. How do parents treat their kids this way? When my oldest sister died, my older sister was crying to my mother about how she felt alone. My mother was trying to reassure her and said, "You've still got Vamp Dixon though." But my sister said, "Who cares about her? I want my oldest sister back." I kinda get it, but this was around the same time that my mother told me to my face that it should have been me who died instead, because I don't have a husband or kids like my older sister did. It seemed like absolutely no one wanted me in my family, and they all wished I could have switched places with the one we lost. People wonder why I'm depressed now. Well, I hope you're doing better now. Blaming your child for your messed up life? Look at the next one. Background. I'm 12 years younger than my older sisters, and I was unplanned. At age 7, I overheard my mom crying and saying that I was the reason she didn't love my dad anymore, and why we were poor, why she isn't happy, and that she didn't want to be my mom anymore. She said that she didn't know how to love a person who ruined her entire life. It was Christmas Eve, and she was drunk talking to her best friend on the phone. It broke my spirit and heart, and that was only the beginning of my awful childhood. Side note, I'm 29 now and moved out when I was 15 to protect myself. I have no contact with my parents, and I'm fully aware it wasn't my fault I was born. But damn, this memory still fucks me up. Memories do haunt you. Childhood has a huge impact on your entire life. The next one's another example. When I was in 5th grade, one of my friends accidentally invited me to an online chat room called the I Hate CloudX chat room. When someone realized I was in the chat, they unloaded on me, pointing out every flaw I had and why no one in school liked me. The rest of the chat room followed suit and said some pretty awful things to me, including how I should kill myself and that no one would miss me. One of my closest friends even chimed in at this point and agreed with everything being said. I started to self-mutilate and pretty much went to the rest of the middle school and high school without friends, unable to trust people or get close to people. To this day, I can pretty much count how many true friends I have on one hand. Kids can be awful. True that. World is still in clutches of racism. It's high time we realize we are all the same. Went out with a date with someone I met online, to then hear her mother yelling at her for doing so. She then found out I'm Puerto Rican, and she went on this racist tirade about how I'm a possible rapist because that's what Hispanics do. That lady was yelling so hard through the phone that I overheard it by mistake. That might have hurt a lot. Wait till you see the last one. Realizing your family is not the people you expected them to be. Not overheard, but actually read in a file about me. My mother passed away suddenly, and I received a file from my father that she was meaning to give me. It was a psychological profile, along with tests, personality tests, and other stuff. This wasn't a surprise to me since I'm autistic and have been in therapy since I was a child. There was a part, however, about my family and their trouble with living with me. Especially my brothers and my dad were having problems coping, and learning how my existing pained them was difficult. My parents got divorced basically because of me. My brothers were embarrassed by me. I'm doing better than expected. I was never supposed to be living on my own. There was talk about assisted living or even an institution. But somehow, I managed to leave home as soon as I got 18. I got married, had kids, and even though I struggle a lot, I get by. I even have a good relationship with all my brothers, even though they still have trouble treating me as an adult. It's like always thinking everybody knows you're a retard except you, then finding out it's true. God, that was a tough read. Have you had to go through similar situations? Comment and let us know if you have. Also, subscribe to this channel and keep watching. I'll see you in the next video.